Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about the various strategy that you must follow to select the best universities that fits within your requirement. So this video is for those who is planning to go for higher study abroad, either in USA, Canada, or Europe. So the same strategy can be applied in for each of these countries. If you're thinking why I'm talking about this, because I think there's a huge requirement that if you're planning to go for an higher study, you must do this task of selecting the best universities for yourself rather than asking somebody else, finding out the list of the best universities or supposed to be best universities for yourself. If you see, there are a lot of posts, and these posts are taken from authenticated sources. So if you see, the commonness in all of these posts are there is some sort of help asked from others to actually give you a list of the best universities for yourself, which is, I think, not possible. And you must do the exercise. So if you are the person who is actually willing to learn this approach that you can follow to list out the most suitable universities for yourself rather than relying on somebody else or some different source of information, then you can continue to watch this video. Now, if you are thinking, what are the sources of those feedbacks that I just showed you? Well, the sources are from these groups. So if you are planning to go for higher study, then you must be a part of either of these groups. And I'm a part of all of these Facebook groups. So I have collected those feedbacks from those groups, and those are just few. If you actually go through these websites, you will find ample of such requests where a person makes requests to give a list of the best universities for them, which is so weird. Actually, you are supposed to be making that list for yourself. And how to do that then? How to know if I'm following the right process or if I'm not following the right process? That's what I will try to help you with. Now, this is not the strategy that I framed or I claim is it as my strategy, but this is one of the best strategy that's being followed by most of us. I mean, if you see, most of the students that have who have gone to USA or any other countries for a higher study, at some point of time they did the same exercise, and should be done by all of us if we are trying to go to USA. um, so you see, you are going to be in a culture where things are done are more responsible on you than somebody else, or the more independently you work, the better you are considered. That is also a big skill set that's actually is valuable in USA. So I would recommend you to develop this skill given the time you have, and rather than skipping it. Okay, without delaying further, let's see the steps. Before I show you the steps, let me tell you the video is going to be a little longer because the steps that I'm going to discuss will take some time, because it is not something that is not workable, but something which is actually working and, of course, takes time to learn. So, the whole process or the steps that you should follow to come up with the list of the better universities for yourself have been divided into three groups. Let's discuss one by one. The first step, in the very first step, you should filter out the universities based on their ranking and time. So, from where and which tool are you going to use to filter out the universities? I will give you the link. There's a website that is considered to be most authenticated to rely on them to find out the ranking for these universities. So, whatever ranking they have assigned, that's considered most valuable. So, we can rely to. Now, why on time? That's because, especially in USA, all the universities falls either as a private category or public category. So public categories, universities are considered to be less expensive in terms of your education fee when it comes compared to your private universities. So what is your requirement? Do you want to go to a private university or public university? That you can filter. Now, see, if a university offers you an education in less price does not mean it's a bad university. In fact, in USA, most of the public or state universities are considered to be doing most cutting edge research than a private university, because public universities are actually funded by a lot of the organization and even the state government, so they do have a lot of advanced reservations, so they do not tax a lot to the students, and hence the overall education fee is quite lesser. So you can actually go ahead and decide to study in a public university than a private, if you get a public university with a better ranking. Although I know a lot of the Indian students and South Asian students prefer to go with public university rather than a private. Okay, so the second step would be to pull out the granular details for the list of the or the filtered universities that you have uh, from step one. What that means, you have to go to each of these universities website, official website, and a specific department website, and filter out certain information. Now what those informations we are trying to filter out or pull out, I will give you that list too in some time. And eventually once you have both of these informations, you can start checking out the university that you does not fit to your category or your criteria, and then whatever will be left out, those will be supposed to be the best universities for yourself, and you can actually go ahead and apply to them. Now depending on how many universities you plan to target, so many you can filter out of it, and rest all of them you can apply to. Later, once you get the admission from multiple universities, you can further do the selection based on maybe other factors like job factors and a lot more that you have convenience at that point of time. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to the link that you should use to filter out the universities based on ranking, and then the details that you should pull out from individual university and department website. Okay, so the website is usnews.com. I'm going to share the link in the description box too. This website is considered to be one of the most authenticated source of ranking for the universities. You can rely on them. So this website has a lot of the options, filter options. You can filter the universities of your criteria and like the branch to which you're targeting to apply. Like mostly people go for computer science. So here I've selected computer science, but you can choose something more, right? So these are the various categories. And then any specific specialization, I'm not choosing any one of them right now. Not just that, you can also have the option to choose the country. So right now I'm taking only USA as an example. You can give the location like, okay, or by default it always comes for USA, right? Or any specific university name if you want to give, that also you can give, but I'm sure at this point you are not sure of it, right? No worry. So we have got the list of the universities for masters in computer science program. Okay, now let's look at the various other tools we have. So sort by, you can always sort by alphabetically A to Z or alphabetically Z to A. Let me sort it first on ranking high to low. And it's all. If you see, these are the universities. So these are the peer score that you can use, although that's fine. You can ignore also. What is important is this ranking. Can you see #1? That basically tells you the ranking of that particular universities, if, and especially their computer science department ranking, okay, or the course ranking, computer science course ranking. Specifically, when we say course ranking, it's for both undergraduate and masters and PhD program. So that's okay. If it's good in UG program, it will be certainly good in PG programs also, so we can rely on that, right? So if you see, For CMU, its computer science program ranks in number one. And of course, it's not very peculiar to give ranking, number one ranking to just one university, but a set of universities. And we have all list here. For example, MIT computer science is also considered rank one. Stanford computer science is also considered rank one. University of California, Berkeley is also considered rank one, and so on. But if you see University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, here the computer science department has been given rank 5, right? Cornell University is rank 6. You see, your University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign is a state university or public university, but the Cornell University is a private university. Although it's a private, it's charging a lot of you, but still its computer science program is not considered that great compared to your UIUC. Right, a lot more. So there are a lot more. You can go on. Okay, this website has a lot of universities, and you can just go on filtering out more for more and more. Now, how are you going to utilize it? So what you should do, you should first decide what is your budget, because that you should be knowing. Are you from a rich family, or are you from a middle class family, or are you from a poor family? Of course, uh, going to the highest level ranking universities wouldn't be that easy. It's not just about your skill sets or your all other requirements, but it's also about money. If you don't get a scholarship from them, then funding to the education at these universities will be certainly a hard time for you. You should not target them. That's my recommendation. So rather, you should target for some lower ranking universities. So according to me, if you ask me, anything, any universities, any public universities, especially, I would prefer ranked above 50 can be good. So anything, if I have to go for master's program, I would prefer not top ranks altogether, but rather an average one, maybe 15 to 50. I'm okay with that. Okay, because it's not just alone ranking that matters, but it also other factors are there, a lot of other factors that matters. But to start with, you can actually go ahead and from this website download all the universities within top 50 ranking for your program, or sometime top ranking 75 also works out. So you can actually, if you have time, you can go up to ranking 75, right? So that's the step number one. I hope that's clear. You have to download this page. Okay, so how would you download? Just take a printout of it. That should be totally fine. Take a printout of this website. You'll get the list of the universities and the ranking for the computer science department. You have to somehow fill this data to an Excel sheet. Now that's up to you how you do, either manually copy paste, or you can actually write. If you are from coding background, you can write some code to do that, but that you have to do, right? Now let's see the next step, where once we have this university's information or their name in an Excel sheet, then what to be done next? So we are in step 2 now. We have already got the list of the colleges that based on the ranking, and you can populate them in an Excel sheet with some columns. So this is just a template sheet, but similar you can create yourself. Here I have tried to give you the minimum information that you must gather from this university's website. The most essential ones I have added here, but based on your requirement, feel free to add and delete some more columns. So the very first and important information, list the university's name. Okay, then the degree you are planning to apply, then major, like a lot of the people do for multiple departments like computer science also, then electrical and communication department, and maybe electrical department, and maybe maths department, statistics department. So what exactly you want, you can put it in your major. And then the term, whether you are planning for spring or fall, you can add deadline. For each of the term, what's the deadline? For example, see, I have the information for University of Southern California. This is one of the private university. Okay, in your CA, right? Now, for MS in computer science and this in spring term, the deadline is generally 15th of September for the given year. But what about in fall? Mostly it's 1st of December. So yeah, that you must add it here. Okay, so because a lot of the times we want to apply to a university, but we miss it or we cannot apply it, maybe because of the deadline is passed. So please be ready with this document as early as possible so that you do not miss such things. Next, write down the requirement. What requirement? University GRE score requirement. So that's the threshold I have given the name. That basically means what is the expected minimum GRE for the university. If you see at this point of time, which is December 2021, GRE is an optional for the University of Southern California to apply in MS in computer science program. So I have given optional, but that is not true for every other universities. There are still few universities, and especially those having the top rankings, they still expects you to come up with a GRE to apply to their universities. So in that case, what should you do? Don't apply without a GRE. One advice I would like to add here: do not apply to any university for which you do not meet the requirements, university requirements. Okay, why? Because that will be just a waste of money for you. The university is not even going to look at your application if you do not meet their requirement first. So for example, if the university needs exactly above 310 GRE score, and if you have 309 score and you say, oh, it's just 1 point difference, let me apply, they will consider me. It's very difficult. Maybe only in some special circumstances they are going to do that, else it's always system control. What that means, they do not manually check the score for every individual, but rather they depend on the software to filter out the list of the students that meets these requirements. So don't do that. Okay, next, TOEFL, IELTS or Duolingo score threshold. So for example, for USC, IELTS threshold is above 6.5, TOEFL should be above 90, and Duolingo is not actually accepted. So you can mention that too. If Duolingo, if you're planning to apply with Duolingo score, then whether a particular university accepts that or not. So for example, you can say Duolingo not accepted. Okay, next. Undergraduate GPA threshold. So a lot of the time people do ask, I have 2 GPA, can I apply to this particular university? Well, no, I don't know the answer. How do you know then? Go to the university department page, check the minimum GPA requirement. Lot of the university mentioned this very specifically, that you must have a certain GPA in your previous education transcript before applying to a specific course. So get that information. For example, for USC, this is not mentioned. So for them, GPA is not that important maybe. But if any universities has mentioned it specifically on their page, you must meet that requirement. Right. Next, application fee. So also, for every application you apply, there's a cost attached. And if you are actually could not pay that or could not have a restricted budget, I would say do not apply to every university. Apply within the budget of your right tuition fee. You can also list tuition fee. Now, this information may not be very important at this point of time when you are applying to the universities, but they would be very, very helpful and handy when you'll have admissions from multiple universities. At that point of time, if you have to choose the only one, that selection criteria would be coming from tuition fee. So at that point of time, again, you have to go back to the university website and look for all this information. But at this point of time, when you are making this information, if you can collect all this information, would this information will be handy during admission. All right, accommodation. So for example, USC has a tuition fee of on average $50,000 per year, and accommodation fee, that means for staying and eating, that's $20,000 per year. Now this amounts are taken roughly from their website. They can change year to year, semester to semester, so keep monitoring them. And acceptance rate, very, very important. Acceptance rate is what exactly? So this is the average acceptance rate by every university. What that means, if a total of 100 students have applied to the university in the given semester, how many of them actually got admission? That is what the acceptance rate is. So if you see for USC, the acceptance rate is just 11%. Is what that means. Out of every 100 students applied to the university, only 11, one of them got admission. Rest, your remaining students do not get admission at all. So that's 89%, which is sad. What that means? That means based on your criteria or your skills, or the qualifications, you can actually judge what is your likelihood of getting admission in the given university. What sort of competitions are you going to face if you apply to an university? So for example, the competition is very high in USA. That's what this number tells you. If an university has, let's say, 55 acceptance rate, certainly that would be a much likely that you get an admission there compared to USC. So you can also do a good selection based on your acceptance rate. Now, ranking, that is also important. Now here I did not fill it, but you can fill it from the website I showed you in step 1. You must give the ranking here. Okay, and then let's say you have the whole sheet filled with a lot more colleges. And now, what about your, so in Sidebar, you also try to add your current GRE and IELTS or TOEFL score, so that it will be easy for you to strike out the universities that you should not apply at all. Now, just to give you an example of how a detailed sheet could look like, I have just taken some from one of my friends. Look at this sheet. One of my friends did prepare when she was trying to apply for Masters in Computer Science program. So she has got a lot of universities, if you see. But of course, out of all this, she did not apply to each one of them, but rather a selected one, and these are the status. So something like this you can also prepare. Now see, there are a lot of universities. So this was prepared during spring 2022 for spring 22 admission. So these were the application deadline for the certain universities so if application deadline is missed, obviously you cannot apply to them. So those were not applied. Acceptance rate you can collect, you can get the ranking. See, informations like whether GRE meets whatever GRE you have, does that meet the requirement or not? See, in this university, that is OU State University, the GRE score is not required at this point of time, whereas it comes to IELTS, that's given 7, but it's again optional, that can be waived off in the special circumstances. Now where is this information all coming from? The website, university website, specifically the department website. Now, how to see information in the website? If you want me to share that information, just comment. I would try to make a detailed video on that and share with you. And university website is a great source of and most authenticated source of any information than anybody else would give you. So always try to go to the university. It will take you some time to get handover of it, but eventually once you know where exactly to look for information, this is going to be very smooth process for you. And making this sort of sheet would not and should not take more than 2 to 3 days of hard work for you. But this information is very, very important and would serve a great purpose here on once you are on the journey for master's study. So hopefully this gave you a complete idea on how to exactly look for or list out the best, supposed to be best universities for yourself, and based on that how to take the decisions which university you should apply for and which university you should go to. So this Excel sheet, I can share the template, would certainly make or help you to be a lifesaver if you give some good effort of your time and try to prepare this Excel. So I hope this information is useful for you. Let me know if you need some extra information by leaving a message in the comment box. Happy learning.